Alright, so today's lesson is going to be about adding and subtracting radicals. For this first example here, we're looking at how it's familiar and similar to combining like terms. So for example, I have positive 4a and positive 5a, and we also have a positive 3b and a positive 8b. You combine the ones that have the similar last name. Okay, so that would be 9a plus 11b. Right, now let's take a look at how this is similar to when you're adding radicals. So we're allowed to regroup, and we're gonna rewrite this using the distributive property. So since both of them have a 2 underneath the radical, we can write that as, we can factor that out since they both have that in common. Square root of 2, and then we put in parentheses the 12 plus 3. When we rewrite it, we're going to put our answer out in front though. So this is really, we can really write this as 15 square root 2. Okay, so another way of looking at this, we could have wrote it like this: 12 plus 3 square root 2. Either way, you're still going to end up with the answer 15 square root 2. Okay, let's take a look at number 3, the third example. Well, let's take a look at the ones that are alike. Square root of 5x and the square root of 5x. So those are the only ones that we have to simplify those two. The last one, the 3 square root 7x, is just going to be by itself. So this would become 4 plus 5 square root 5x plus 3 square root 7x, and when we simplify that, that's going to be 9 square root 5x plus 3 square root 7x. Final answer. And let me circle my final answers back up here for the second example. Alright, let's try another one right here. So once again, we're looking for the ones that have similar radicals. So square root of 2, square root of 2, and then we have another one that's square root of 6 and square root of 6. So let's group the green ones together. That's going to be 2 minus 2 and then square root 2 plus 5 plus 6 square root 6. And when we simplify that, that's going to be 0 square root 2 plus 11 square root 6. But we know that 0 times anything is 0. So really this becomes 0 plus 11 square root 6, which the final answer is just 11 square root 6. Okay. Alright. Now, let's take a look at what happens if we have to simplify before we add. Okay. So, first of all, we'll write it out. We have 6. Well, oops, excuse me. We know we can't factor the 3, but the 12 can be factored. The square root of 12 can be factored. So that would be written as, we can say 4 times 3. And then we know that we could take the square root of, matter of fact, let's write it like this. We'll write it as separate square roots. Square root of 4 times the square root of 3. And you keep the 4 on the outside. Now, when we finish going through this, the 4 can be, you can take the square root of 4, which is 2. So that's going to be 4 times 2 times the square root of 3, which makes 8 square root 3. So now when we rewrite it, we're going to have 6 square root 3 plus 8 square root 3. And now we just add the 6 plus the 8, square root 3, and that's going to make 14 square root 3. Final answer. For the next one, for number 6, the 3, we can't simplify that anymore, but the square root of 27, we can write it as a square root of 9 times the square root of 3, and we got to keep the 3 on the outside out here. We know we can take the square root of 9, which is 3, so that's going to be 3 times 3 times the square root of 3, which is just 9 square root 3. So now when we come back over here to rewrite it, right, this is going to be 2 square root 3 plus 9 square root 3, and then we just have to add the 2 plus the 9 and the square root of 3, which makes final answer 11 square root 3. Alright, let's take a look at example number 7. Example number 7, we can simplify the 45 and the 20. So this is going to be 2 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 5. And over here, this is going to be 4 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Put my multiplication symbol, because 20 simplifies into 4 times 5, right? And 45 is 9 times 5. And then when we simplify these things, this would be 2 times 3, because the square root of 9 is 3, times the square root of 5. And then over here, this is going to be 4 times 2, because the square root of 4 is 2, times the square root of 5. And the final part to simplify, that's going to be 6 square root 5 right here, and 8 square root 5 over here. Now we can rewrite it. So we're going to have 6 square root 5 minus the square root of 5 plus 8 square root 5. Now, whether we realize it or not, there's a 1 out here in front of this square root of 5. So when we get ready to regroup all of these, we're going to have 6 minus 1 plus 8, all that times the square root of 5. 6 minus 1 is 5, and then we got to do 5 plus 8, and 5 plus 8 is going to make 13. So our final answer here would be 13 square root 5.